who also made a like sex for seniors video. Really good watch if you really are like, man, how am I when I get old? How am I going to remain sexy?
I wonder
Angela
if
Lansbury.
Bedknobs and Broomsticks is where I got my passion for the occult because it's got like reanimated shit in it and zombie
And
stuff.
beds.
Yep, witchcraft.
Yep. Brooms.
A cartoon
Bedknobs.
sequence.
Cartoon sequence
hell
soccer
yeah.
game.
Hell yeah.
Football, as it were.
My green screen sucks. Looks like we're
really good.
live.
Yeah, we are live. Hello, welcome to the Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob.
Welcome to Bedknobs and Broomsticks show, the
podcast.
new podcast. Yeah.
I'm ready. We're starting Act 1, Scene 1.
Angela Lansbury fan show. Let's go.
Let's do it. Murder, She Wrote, definitely underrated.
Murder, She Wrote.
She in
Murder,
Murder,
She Wrote.
Did you just ask if Angela Lansbury was in Murder, She Wrote?
Yeah.
Rob's clearly more of a Matlock guy.
You know for a fact that...
Fully. I think we just killed Pete. Pete died on that
Pete's
comment.
gone.
Oh.
You know that I was
He's
never
back.
obviously Murder, She Wrote. I was this guy. Oh, just one more question. Columbo is the boy.
So you gotta
Okay.
gotta impersonate the glass eye though.
Yeah.
My
Yeah,
wife.
there you go.
My wife.
Mm.
I would like to see.
Wow. If there is one person you might define as one of the kids listening to this or seeing this right now, they're upset. They're upset and they're mad about whatever nonsense these boomers are going on about.
Yeah.
Are we the boomers in this situation?
Big
We're
time.
the boomers.
We are referencing primetime 80s dramas right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's deep.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, this is
Columbo's
stuff old
brilliant.
people watched when we were young people. Like,
It's true.
This is deep.
It's old. It's stuff old people made us watch with them.
Oh, yeah.
I purposefully watched Columbo. I was like, Columbo came on the TV, and I was like, whoa, let's go.
This guy's amazing.
Hello, Harrylicious. Thank you for subscribing. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show, Podcast Bros. Stay hydrated, you sexy bitches. And then thank you and hello to both Val and Pete for joining us on this lovely Tuesday morning for them, mid-afternoon here in the UK. Pete, how you been? Are you okay?
No, I'm awful, but making it through day by day.
What's up, bud?
Oh, nothing, man. Just how life always is for me. It's I woke up at 4:30 to do a show, and then was told, "Oh, in the UK, it's not that time. So go back to bed." But that doesn't happen in my world. So here we go.
I got a weird message off. Go on, Pete. Val, sorry.
Oh, I didn't mean to cut you up. I was just gonna say, I'm pretty sure this is actually the Obama administration's fault because those goddamn Yankees tweaked their friggin'
Thanks,
savings
Obama.
time and moved it to the beginning of March. Canada was like, our children will freeze to death in the dark on the way to school. We can't do that. So we wound up, they go in the beginning of March. We go in the middle of March, and apparently the UK goes at the end of March. Why don't we just all not do that? Let's just stop doing it.
This is going to be a whole thing. So, like, I'm sure someone in the chat's going to go ballistic about daylight savings time.
They should.
Someone
They
always
should.
do.
I didn't
Someone
know.
always do.
I didn't know that it had happened or wasn't happening or whatever because I got a message off Canadian yesterday. He was like, "Aren't you live?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Well, it's you 30 minutes late." And I was like, "Oh my god, am I?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." I was like, "Clearly, you're just mental." Shout out to real Mr. Winters, who's definitely not mental. Yeah, and then that explains the other couple of messages I got yesterday about why we were late. So now we know. Now we know.
When I worked for ExxonMobil, it even caused trouble. I remember distinctly my boss and I being on a conference call trying to fix an issue that was due to daylight savings time, and this guy arguing with us that we didn't know what time it was where we were, adamantly that that is not the problem. And it was like, no, daylight savings time changed today. It's now 7:00. That's why the system isn't working. It doesn't understand that it's 7:00. It's not 6. The guy was like, nope, it is 6:00 where you are. I'm looking at it right now. I was like, what the fuck? are you talking
What?
about?
Was this again repeated last autumn when I refused to acknowledge what time we were actually supposed to be talking to each other because I could not understand how savings time worked in the fall?
I
Yeah.
remember you retired. You were like, no, this is wrong.
Couldn't grasp it. Also saw an interesting YouTube video recently of someone proposing not just ending savings time zones. Get rid of them. Everyone on
I think we
GMT.
should. Well, as someone that works in the airline industry, I always work in GMT when I'm at work. So
is that true?
yeah,
that's what Britain is good at doing. Loads of things. Number one, pushing our ideas around the world. Number two, being a central hub of fascism. That's what we're good for. And I'll talk no more about Britain today because
time and fascism. You nailed it.
I have no idea if it's true, but Peter and I were both taught as children that time zones are a Canadian innovation.
Is that true?
I have no idea. It came from a propaganda minute that we used to watch, be forced to watch, called Canadian Heritage Minutes.
They were amazing.
In which Canadian history was fed to us in, I guess a Canadian historical anecdote is only interesting for 60 seconds, if that. Yep. And that not including the intro and the outro.
You should look them up, Rob. They are fantastic. All of them. Every single one.
I'm super into that.
Canadian Heritage Minutes. They're great. Halifax Explosion, big deal. Smell burnt toast.
Beep, 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 beep.
That's kind of like the go-to.
I smell burnt toast.
Yeah, Irish Immigrants, nailed it. House Hippos, good one.
The Corporal Punishment one, it slams dramatically. It slams the thing dramatically on the table. It says, I can't remember where her line is. Do you remember the line? Something very dramatic.
She's very angry.
This is not okay.
Marshall McLuhan, medium is the message.
Medium is the message. I don't know if you knew that, Rob.
Medium is the message, Rob.
Completely lost.
You could have learned something from that guy.
I'm gonna. I thought I'd learned everything I needed.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rob. I keep talking over you. No, you go. It's your show. It's your show.
You're the guest. They hear me enough. They're sick of me. Like, be honest.
Well, Marshall McLuhan's point, I do believe, is that the mode in which you receive a message in itself changes the context and the meaning of what you are trying to communicate. Hence,
even tone.
The medium is the message.
Even tone is an issue.
Bam.
Yeah.
Bam.
Like, do you want to come over to my house? And do you
want
to come over to my house? Very different. Very different meanings.
Both of them. Both of them meant something to me.
Val, have you been well?
Yeah, no, I'd say I would give myself an unqualified doing just fine. Yeah, no, doing great. I had a really good burst of productivity for about 2 weeks, which came to a crashing halt. I had to estimate last Wednesday, and was dragging ass and feeling bummed out for a little while. But that's coming back. It's coming back.
Sorry, bud.
Well, it's really nothing I could explain aside from I have no idea.
Is it because some of your settlements on Total War got sieged, or?
I actually, ever since I took 8 peaks, and I was like, oh, whew, and the fog lifted, and I'm over the problem now for a little while.
Nice. That's nice.
Rob says he had a problem when it comes to Warhammer Total War, and I was always like, yeah, okay, Rob. And then one time I accidentally saw how many hours he has logged on Warhammer Total War. Just the sequel, just number 2. It's a lot. It's a lot of time. It's basically all of the time I imagine Rob had outside of being on this show.
Oh dear. Because thankfully the habit has been kicked. Although not excited about the release of the new one because it looks like the new one is problematically going to have Be'lakor in, plus the Be'lakor model. Segue to 40k. Smashed it.
Hey!
This guy did it. This guy did it. We tried real hard this time not to talk about it. Not to talk about this game. Keep it as adjacent as possible. Angela Lansbury opener.
We could just do.
She's pretty
40K.
grimdark at this point. Is she?
I would love an Angela Lansbury 40k TV series. Let's do it.
What would she be playing?
She'd be like
anything.
She'd be like a tech priest or like
I
you
do.
know, just
I do
something
that. I'd be
heavily augmented, mostly machine,
She'd be an
and like
astropath.
the front of her is just a typewriter.
She could be an astropath that solves mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even have to hide.
Yeah. This
I'm
actually
pretty sure
brings me up
Ravener's
to.
based on her.
This brings me up to.
Ravener.
Oh, go on. I can talk. We can bring up a 40k subject, but that's still very adjacent. We can manage it in a very adjacent way if you want. The Astartes video has been taken over by Games Workshop.
Yeah.
But now,
I don't
we
think
can
she'd
just
make a good space marine.
TV shows you want to see made by that department, I guess, is my question. Or any thoughts on the whole thing?
Well, I would like to address the various salacious theories that you put forward when first discovering this, including that Games Workshop may have threatened them or threatened the creator with a lawsuit to force him into some sort of contractual agreement with Games Workshop, paid minimum wage to forever produce animations for them. I mean, it was pretty twisted Dark Fantasy, I got to say. It was some Kanye West shit. Pretty good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yes, it's unheard of. My favorite thing is that I normally deal with corporations as people, and as we know, people are inherently good. So, of course, in no way, extrapolating through that path of logic, there's no way a corporation will do anything so dark, ever, which is nice. Big shout out to Nestle, trying to make it so we can't drink water. Loads of love. Yeah, Pete, you got any thoughts on the acquisition, I guess, initially, and then where we might see it go in the future?
I mean, no. I saw it, and I was like, that's cool. And then I heard your take, and I was like, that's not cool. I hope that's not true. And
you two just don't want to have this conversation because you don't want it to be true. Is that what's going on?
So first of all, I would believe that Games Workshop, yes, is probably working with that person because they're cheaper than an actual studio. I assume, though, they're going to be compensated in some way because that person made a lot of money off of that. But anyway, who knows? We don't know what the deal of the deal is, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But I do find it a little strange that they're going out and getting community members to do this rather than licensing it out to, I don't know, an actual full-time company that would do this.
I think they are. I don't think he's the only one, right? Like, he's been added to their animation team. I'd like to think, in my heart of hearts, that this is more of a, GW came to this guy and was like, we want you to work with us. And then he was like, this is my dream job. And that was it. So that's kind of where my brain initially went. He was making a crap ton of money. His Patreon was mega insane. Because people loved what he was doing. So I would hope that this wasn't also like IP protection at the same time. No. But, it is what it is.
I think like Games Workshop has clearly gone away from the cease and desist shit. Like, they used to sue everybody. Like, this photo behind me. Like, I mean, that could get you a cease and desist at one point in time. Like, they were nuts. So yeah, I don't know.
Metallica of toy companies.
Yeah, big time. Another Metallica reference, Napster reference. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Big shout out to
I was listening to Whiskey in the Jar earlier while I was waiting for this. Still don't know the lyrics. I know that it's an old Irish song, but the Metallica version, I think they changed it completely. No idea what they're saying.
One hot take though, Rob, which I do agree with a lot, is the concerning development that they might they're going to put it all on their Warhammer app, rather than use it as a sort of out there means of gathering eyeballs and views and capturing imaginations to get into the hobby. Which is if you look at the top YouTube videos right now that are Warhammer related, they are all animations and like story type things, and that's it. So. Go ahead. Sorry, Rob.
Well, I was just going to say, for context, for people who, for some reason, weren't aware, but I know we all are, of Astartes as a series of short animations done by an independent developer. It exploded virally. You had people who do react videos for other stuff You had guys who do React videos on hip hop channels reviewing it. You had people who do graphics animation reviews doing it. So it became this kind of like viral, because of the nature of how it worked. It went out to loads of different audiences because of that nature. Even shout out to my friend Logan Summer, who said he just because people barely know he touches Warhammer, he had people who he never thought would ever messaging him this video and being like, "Have you seen this? This is amazing." So obviously, like a super good piece of like viral like video for our kind of thing. A couple of like points I want to touch on some of your comments. Number one, wouldn't hire professionals. Let's talk about that playtest team for a bit. Number two, because they love just involving the fans. They're like, "Hey, you guys just do it for us. This is great. Let's do that. Let's not pay a company." Number two, number one, I really hope just all the animators get paid and all creative people get paid what they deserve. As everyone, a binman and everyone, of course. So I'm less interested in that. I am more interested in the development, though, because I do think it's going to go behind a paywall app. I think that's definitely going to be a thing. But I'm excited about a bunch of animations for something that I love. So, yeah, Mikasa Sukasa in that situation. I don't really... I
don't know if that's the right quote to use, but...
Thank you. Correct.
I am super curious to see what their plan model is. Maybe this is all just a head fake to get us to download the app more, or maybe they are going to do maybe they saw that Tabletop Tactics has an app now, and they're like, "We got to get an app." Yeah, that guy's handsome, and he's got an app, so we should get an app. And so they're going to put a bunch of video content on their own thing. Who knows? I'll be curious to see.
Also allows us to create some Games Workshop NFT as well.
NFT's big news right now. Lots of money in that.
Lots of money. I don't know if anyone as of yet has bought the LVO moment where he didn't allow him after the movement phase to do his deep strikes. No one's bought that as a moment yet, because that's a good piece on record. Also, the meme of the guy boxing the guy out with the white scars. Also.
That's just a photo, though. That's unfortunate. That's just a photo.
Oh, damn it. Okay, that doesn't work. Anyway, yeah. So, like, you guys got any thoughts on what you would like to see come out of an animation studio? Obviously, Angela Lansbury docu-series.
We've already been through that one. Yeah,
we've been through that one. Any others? Twitch channel.
Honestly, anything. Like, I mean, like the whole like, look at what's behind me. Animate that.
No, don't.
I don't know what the hell that is. It's like a friggin'.
Looks like there's two weird like mech people having sex behind your head. There's a tech priest. Like, look, it's like some kind of weird situation over here. I don't want that.
Like, imagine
GW don't do that.
Blanchitsu style art, or what's his Robert Blanche? Robert Plant? I don't know. That guy.
No Blanchitsu stuff, please.
Fully animated? That is just that is like the
you
guy
already
who
have
draws.
Heavy Metal. You don't need any more.
That's the guy who draws for all the Hunter S. Thompson books and movies. I don't know who that is, but it's a nightmare. Maybe it's Blanche.
I want the guys that did Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, that would work.
Because they somehow grossed me out, but that was allowed on at 6 p.m. in the day. Like, I thought as a child, I was like, what is this? Because still to this day, I think I'm very confused by Ren and Stimpy.
It's wild. It is a wild show. And you know what? And I immediately thought to myself, Ren and Stimpy kind of reminds me a lot of SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob SquarePants, and they are the same creator. And that makes a whole lot of sense. Vincent Walter, and his American writer, storyboard artist, animator, technical director, who's worked on several animated television shows and movies, the most notable ones being Ren and Stimpy and SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh, that makes so much sense now. That's amazing.
He toned it back a smidge for the SpongeBob.
But it's still super strange. Like, I mean, Ren and Stimpy is nuts. It's like there's this thing that happened in culture where everyone assumes that the past was more conservative than it is today. And the reality is that like TV got super conservative in the 90s when like all the fucking religious right people started writing American networks and telling them not to put stuff on. Before that, though, it was fully informed by drug culture and crazy people from the 70s. And like every comedy had swearing and boobs in it. Most action films had swearing and boobs in it, and then that all went away, and now all we have is gratuitous violence and misogyny. It's too bad. We lost the humor. The fun kind of went away.
I
It's a lot
would
like Warhammer.
disagree significantly because of the Fast and Furious franchise, which is flawless start to finish.
Now, that is a perfect
That's true.
example.
That's
Imagine Fast and
know.
the Furious made
with
in
Angela
1989.
Lansbury.
With starring Angela Lansbury as the like babe who like drops the flag to make them
Yeah.
go.
Yep. Mhm.
Um,
John Cleese as Vin Diesel.
Yes.
I'm into this.
Oh yeah. Paul Walker is just a young Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, I could do that. I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways.
I was thinking
Anyways.
Kelsey Grammer. You know,
He likes
that was like
cars.
heyday. That
He
was
also
his
likes-
heyday.
The difference between biggest difference between Kelsey Grammer and Paul Walker is that Kelsey Grammer survived a terrible car accident.
Oh,
Drove off a cliff.
too soon. Too soon.
No, I'm happy for Kelsey Grammer. That's a significant difference between two people.
Yes.
Yes. Right. I don't know where really to take the conversation. If I'm 100% honest, I thought
You can
That's okay.
segue this back. You can get it back. We were
No,
talking
I
about
just
Bellator.
I thought you guys would be more. I thought this topic would be of more interest to both of you, but it seemed not to be. I'm quite surprised.
I guess I don't know. Here's something.
Okay.
I think that's actually bigger news than the Astartes guy getting hired. And this is probably a guy who's definitely getting paid. The dude who got hired from Hasbro / another
Yes.
company to
Mhm.
work below the IP person. So I guess below the lawyer who runs all their IP. So now they have an actual pro sort of at the top who will be out there selling this stuff to studios. I'm assuming they were doing a very bad job of this, and so they hired somebody. Do you disagree with that take?
No, so like the key bit that you need to key into is if we go back to the reveals 6 months ago, 8 months ago, whenever it was, when we got Story Forge, they were like Story Forge, and then they were just like, and then they put it out, and it was like not received well. Let's just put it that way. I think
No?
generally, and then since then we've heard not a peep from that entire department. I'm pretty certain that the entire thing has imploded, been pushed into oh god, what's that department? Not IP. The people that deal with like external developers, like they deal with the Total War guys. I can't remember what licensing. Pushed into licensing, and then the guy who ran Hasbro TV or whatever it was has now been hired. So they have like a TV exec now inside that department. So you would assume that either gonna use him to talk to outside TV development, like apparently Amazon are doing the Eisenhorn series, or that's the in-house team.
I would say, I think to me, like his literal job was like taking assets, like IP assets, and shopping them to, like just like they do in video games, shopping them to studios to then develop and make content from, which is the way to go, I think. And I think the Eisenhorn stuff is just that they got the Man in the High Castle dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think they actually are being produced by Amazon, but the person who is developing the concept for it has links to Amazon. I don't think I've seen that Amazon's actually doing anything with them.
Oh, okay. Well, also, little Bonnie and Manchild, thanks for pointing out. So yeah, Storyforge deleted their Twitter and their Instagram, so they're now defunct as like a brand, which is, if only they did the same with the app. But one day we can desperately hope. Yeah. So all right, fine. Then I won't talk about that. I'll move on to other news. How do you think? I've got a question for you, Pete. This is up your street. This is for Pete for 10. Let's see. How do you feel about the inconsistency of data that's pushed out by Games Workshop on their digital and written platforms, which makes it difficult to write legal lists that you can take at tournaments and sometimes.
I see where this is going.
Thank you so much. How do you feel? How do you feel about that? You don't have to reference the point because I don't really want to throw the guy under the bus. But
I mean, why not? I mean, I don't think it's a bus throw. I don't think it's
Okay,
that big
go
of
for
a bus throw. I think it's more of a bus throw to Games Workshop than anything else.
Okay.
So this last weekend there was a major in Texas. So
Let's go
whatever
Texas.
that is, it did have some pretty big names attend. and in the end, there were a couple lists that ended up being caught as illegal, kind of deep into the fray. One of which being the eventual winning list. Sean Naden's Drukari and Eldari mixed army that was super cool, really well thought out, as always a Naden list is. Does a lot of really good things, very quirky. A lot of people didn't quite understand its function. But in it, he took 3 squads of a single Razorwing flock, which you used to be allowed to do in the old Drukari Codex. But in the Munitorum Field Manual, the one that was released, whatever, I don't even know anymore, January, whatever, they changed it to 3 to 9. They also changed it in the app to 3 to 9. However, they didn't change a few things. The wording in the app still says you can take up to 3, even though the data sheet says 3 to 9. And then they also released a power level FAQ, which lets you take 1 to 3 Razorwing flocks in it as well. So there's a lot of confusion. Battlescribe still lets you take just 1 if you want. So Sean took just 3 units of 1. And it didn't get caught until after the fact. There was a lot of back and forth as to what is the legit unit size. We've seen the same thing with racks, because racks have a power level issue where I don't believe they have a power level for being taken but more than 10 in the power level fact, but you're allowed to take 20 of them now.
And the reason the power level, because I saw someone ask this question yesterday, the reason the power level thing is important because you base how much CPU you spend to put something in reserve on the power level.
In strategic reserve. Yeah, it's the only thing that power level matters about. So there was a lot of back and forth. It's very clear that Razorwing flocks are supposed to be 3 to 9. But there's enough of a gray area there where it is what it is. So nothing against. I don't see this as a big thing against Sean per se or the TO, because you can't see everything on this list. And that list was something Sean's been running actually for weeks now. He's been in multiple events with it. So it's also a thing where someone could have caught it well before and just didn't. But it just goes to show what kind of a bit of a shit show the scenario we have with trying to figure out what's actually accurate in this game from time to time. Because we have an app that they're slowly but surely fixing, but often was often incorrect and now still has some bugs.
Has anyone looked at the official GW app? What does it say?
It says 3 to 9 in the bar, but then if you read how you can take them, it says you can take this unit in up to 3. Whereas any other unit says you have to take 4. It'll say if you have to take 4, it says 4, and then you can take an additional amount for this. The app says you can take up to 3 for this minute, and then if you want, you can take an additional 3, and then you can take an additional 3. But the data sheet bar with its stat line says 3 to 9. In the number of models allowed. So
awesome. All right, yeah, I can see how. Yeah,
so there's a lot of confusion. I mean, even Skari was very much this. You can take less than 3, and he's the Drukari god, really, when it comes to competitive 40K. So there was. It just goes to show we have this huge connection to print media, and then the digital side can't keep up apparently, and so we end up with multiple FAQs to multiple things, and they don't line up, and no one is. It doesn't appear that anybody cares to fix the issues because they've been around for a while. This isn't something that happened last week, and we've only had a couple days to figure it out, right? These FAQs came out months ago.
Yes. It was. I thought it was a fascinating conversation, at least, and is probably, as being pointed out in the chat. What up to Canhammer Darren, and also my OG Charlotte, if she's watching, who yesterday was half every animal in the world and half Nagash. Which is perfect. That's exactly.
That's the perfect centaur.
Yeah. No. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Yeah, I want to. Go on.
I want to share a pretty interesting culture shift here, which I think is maybe a positive. Which is instead of Battlescribe getting blamed, the company's getting blamed, which is great. I think that's just a nice little thing. If this had happened I don't know, a year ago, it would have been about how Battlescribe's stupid and inaccurate, and no one should use Battlescribe. When really, I think it's more to do with the fact that we just haven't been playing enough to find all these edge cases. And I think it's interesting that he has been using this list recently, and no one picked it up. It's also, by the way, I think something Pete has said to me very often about Mr. Naden is that he likes to play weird shit. I think somewhat on purpose, and maybe sometimes when you're walking that high wire like that, you can fudge things up a little bit, and that clearly happened here.
I think this feels like I feel like the conversation is a little bit more like this is Naden's fault than, and I'm not saying that it's 100% somewhere else, but I do feel like that someone at that competitive end, a TO at that competitive end, again, we're talking about, like, when you do talk about the Sean Nadens and also the TOs of the world, you're already in the 1% of all of the people. And
easily.
Your local game between your two local mates probably doesn't matter whether they make that mistake or they don't make that mistake. But maybe there's some local little event that you go to and someone's like you've run the list or whatever, and then someone's like, by the way, this is wrong, and you're like, well, it says it on this place that it's right. Well, actually, there's an FAQ. It's like, okay, I didn't know about the FAQ. Actually, well, this FAQ is contradicting the app, and actually, but there's an update in this new Battlezone book, and you're like, just what are the rules? A bit of Sunny in Philadelphia. What are the rules? And I mean, it's a fair point, right?
And I feel this is like super exasperated by like the release lag we've had, right? Most of the issues we're seeing between the strategic reserves and the data sheets and stuff is Drukari, like Rax, Razorwing Flocks. There's a few others in there. And it seems to be just very clear. And we saw it with Reavers when their points were like 10 points and everyone was like, what are you talking about? There's no way this is a 10-point model. It's a lot. It just feels to me like we were supposed to already have this codex 4 months ago, and then this wouldn't be a problem, but we don't. So, and nobody's gone back to resolve it because they're like, oh, the codex will just be out tomorrow, and they just keep saying that until eventually it'll happen, right? Like it's been pushed off so many times. Like they released that fact, and they're like, oh, Drukari's out in like 2 weeks. Don't worry about it. And then a month later, they're like, it's still not out. Like, should we do something? Nah, it'll be out in 2 weeks. Yeah. And now they're like, okay, well, now it'll actually be 2 weeks, so it's a little too late for anybody to care. But yeah, like it's a really annoying situation, and I hate it. I hate it a lot because it's so stupid.
So instead of what do you think honestly, from both of you, what do you think the answer is? Like, what's the answer?
They gotta have
a proper proofreader for this shit.
And I think the biggest issue is that even though now there's an app, they don't have a fucking Google sheet of all of the rules. Mm-hmm. You know, like clearly they have to build a database and organize the information properly. But that database is not the copy. The copy is whatever. I don't know how they do the document control, but clearly there isn't any. So I think what often would probably happen is the power level guy's looking at one thing and the regular points guy's looking at another thing. That's what it looks like. Or they're looking at two different copies of the same thing. This is all just like pretty basic document control stuff. And when you have an entire game running off of it, like it's just stuff that you got to get straight. Like, and I don't know. The thing is that's hopeful is that this isn't rocket science, and there's like incredible basic technology that's existed since the 1980s that would allow you to manage this. So
that's what we need. Angela Lansbury at the computer fixing the whole thing.
So like that all sounds harsh, but like they would save themselves so much bad pub, so much whining from people like me, just by like instituting some cultural changes. Like, fuck, if you gotta be book and paper, have a binder that you gotta sign out. You know, like I don't know, like just make it so everyone's working off the same page, because I think that's literally what's happening. Is that different copies are being used and things are being cut and pasted from different iterations of the same document, and that's how you get this. But especially that power level stuff. Like, you're telling me like the guy who was deciding unit sizes was like one guy got to decide on power level and one guy got to decide on points. Mm-hmm. I don't. That seems insane. So
it does seem insane. Well, okay, so the answer obviously is like some more control, but I mean, the problem has been a problem for a while. Like, and my point is like, with the exception of the kick up of the event over the weekend, I mean, the app has been a problem for a while. Like, it feels disingenuous to have a conversation about them doing something about improving things because they don't. I listen. I'm in the abusive relationship as well, right? We're all together. Yeah, like it's not the best, but like who knows? I wonder more if like there's any support that could be given to Battlescribe, because as far as I understand it, it's really a Battlescribe issue in that that's where it was wrong, but there are some reference points where it was wrong as well, right? The power level thing, and also everything else. I just wonder if the community can get together, because I don't honestly think change will come from Games Workshop, and the community can get together and just do a better job of proofreading the Battlescribe stuff. So like there's just a team, like a group of people.
This is how it gets proofread, though. Is like especially on something as minor as what's the minimum unit size of a Razorwing flock, which in my recollection has not been popular since the first big FAQ of 8th edition. This is an incredibly edge case thing that's just not going to come up very often, and that's why it took an example of someone doing well with it for it to be noticed. And it didn't even get noticed until after the tournament.
Yeah, so, and a lot of it comes down to I don't even know if it's an error in Battlescribe because there are conflicting reports. So a lot of this stuff is proofread by the community, right? Like you can go up on Battlescribe and be like, you're wrong. You can message them and they'll correct it if they can find no data that will say otherwise, right? So if you were like, hey, minimum Razorwing flock size is 3 and it goes up to 9 because of this, if they go and they look at this power level FAQ and it says that you can take 1, well, now they have they don't have the corroborative information, so they'll be like, well, we still have to leave it at 1, right? Because there's something that conflicts. That's why I'm opposed to blaming Battlescribe in this situation for this. Not that I should ever blame Battlescribe for creating a legal list or not. That's not the point. But anyway, they do their best.
Imagine if Battlescribe didn't exist.
Oh man.
Oh man.
My life would be hell when in a non-COVID situation.
If Battlescribe didn't exist, this game would be a lot less popular. Straight up. So and that's something I guess they're kind of coming around to. I think it's just stuff that we've said before, is that they don't really value what the game does for them and how it actually adds value to what they do, and it seems to continuously be a bit of an annoyance, and clearly is not funded properly or managed optimally. They do a lot of stuff right, guys. This is something else that I hate about this, is that I wind up whining about all kinds of stuff when at the end of the day I'm waking up at fucking 6 o'clock in the morning to talk about it, right? So clearly they do a lot of stuff right, and it's just frustrating when they do stuff like this, which is very preventable, and something like Rob pointed out has been happening for always, right? And it's just like adopting a new process, which would also make them more efficient and allow them to do more. There's all these things that they're just little tweaks that they could do, and I think we get upset about it because it's just it just seems really basic to anyone who has encountered this, who had to manage a database or have document control.
See, what's really funny is I'm not the person to criticize. This is where it's hilarious. I'm very disorganized as a human being. Someone says to me, Rob, you're disorganized. I'm like, hell yeah. I've never promised to be organized. Nor you pay me for my organization skills. We don't have that relationship. You know what you're getting, yeah. And that's okay. Whereas in this situation, you make a game, your game should whatever. Let's move on to positive news. I think Be'lakor. What do you guys think of the new Be'lakor model or rules that we've seen?
Oh my god.
Fan?
Points always matter. But I'm a huge fan of everything so far. Everything. I'm even a huge fan of the Chaos players that are mad that he's not AP5 anymore, despite all the extra rules he now has. He's not AP5. He's busted. He's the worst. You can't kill a guy with a 1-up armor save any longer.
Did Be'lakor see a lot of play before?
Never.
No.
Well, I shouldn't say never. There were a couple of lists that ran him and did okay because he was the only essentially unaligned caster. So if you were trying to do summoning shenanigans, he let you summon anything. So you would sometimes see him get dumped in a list just for summoning when summoning worked very briefly in 8th. But other than that,
He was popular in 7th.
yeah, 7th he was huge because of Screamer Star.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He probably, I don't know. I'll have to see him. Like how? Like I just wonder, like on the Magnus and Morty scale.
I mean, he's the size of a small chicken.
It's Costco chicken. Is he a Costco chicken?
Well, that's the thing. They don't really
is
say.
Is he a deli chicken? What are we looking at here? You know?
Yeah.
He's beefy. He's very beefy. One hell of a base. Loving the development of their scenic bases on this guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just leaping off of a piece of Detrius. He's actually got some stuff going on, much like a Rabute Gilliman has some cool stuff going on there. I don't know.
He's a gorgeous centerpiece model, and his rules that they've leaked look absolutely incredible. Like it's really going to depend on points. They can make him 600 points and unplayable, but he just looks super badass. And those rules, at least on paper, are pretty fantastic across the board. So,
yeah. And we haven't even seen all of the rules, right? Yeah.
No, we haven't. We don't know what his because he's supposed to have his own psychic tree, like his own special psychic tree. That'll be cool to see what that's like.
Yeah.
But I mean, like ignoring invulnerable saves, 3+ D3 damage with that weapon that he's got, like that alone is a big counter to a ton of the stuff in the current meta. Yeah, he's baller.
How are we feeling? How are we feeling about the rise of ignore invulnerable saves?
Well, there's not a lot of it. I like it
yet. Like
I guess yet. I mean, there's the Xenophase Blade for Deathwatch, which can at best be damage 2. And you get like 4 attacks out of it, 5 maybe.
There's the Necron guy.
The Necron guy. And now this.
I'm super pro.
Oh, and I guess like the Calidus Assassin.
I think it's super good. Like because the invuln saves are, like, in my opinion, there's a lot of AP in 40k. Like there's a lot of AP. So armor saves are kind of neither here nor there in a lot of situations. So I feel like the invuln saves really is where you're like paying for the elite like defensiveness, and then ignoring the invuns I think is great. I think it's a nice little counterplay.
From a game design perspective, wouldn't an ignore wouldn't an ignore invulns just be why they invented mortal wounds?
Yeah, to a degree. But some armies don't have great access to that. And I guess, Chaos is probably the example where they do. But I just like it. I like it because invulnerable saves have kind of become the norm now. A lot of the best armies, if you look at Dark Angels, it's like balls deep on like 0+ armor saves and 4+ invulns. Custodies, the lists that are working tend to be 3+ invulns because they're like the only people that can get it any longer. The current night lists that are starting to function, the Megara lists, it's based on a 4+ invuln on that Megara in close combat and shooting. Like there's a lot of invuln saves out there now, along with really, really tight armor saves. So any way you can kind of beat that, particularly having played a lot of Dark Angels in the last couple of weeks and being very frustrated with it, I'm super into having any more options.
Yeah, I think that's one of the. Oh, hello. Can we get our visitor on?
Oh, this is Cadence. She just woke
Cadence.
up.
Hi, Cadence.
Can you say hi?
Morning, Cadence.
She can't hear you guys, but she's super happy to see anybody on the screen. So
lovely. Yeah, like you were saying, Terminators are like everywhere now. Terminators. There's the invuln saves. And then
Ravenwing get the Jink invuln save, which is also annoying as all get out. Like there's a lot.
Yeah. And so I think having something that. What's up, Val?
Daddy, what does balls deep mean? Says Dave Frazier in the chat.
Hey, Cadence. Should we end today so Pete can go and hang out with Cadence? We should totally.
I think probably.
Thank you very much for both being on the show.
Very awake.
Appreciate
it. This was our penultimate show.
Our penultimate, yeah.
Penn
and Teller Ultimate. The Angela Lansbury of shows, as it were.
That's right. And next week is the ultimate 1 year of the 40K of adjacency.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
What are we
Thanks
gonna
for joining
do?
me on this journey.
I'm gonna book a hotel room.
We need to
Maybe I'll
plan
I'm gonna
dress
book a
something.
hotel room.
Let's
We
plan
dressed.
something.
I dressed up for some. I wore a shirt. I wore a button-up shirt once. I can't remember what it was for. Maybe
I'll
our
wear my
path
Murloc
here.
onesie.
Perfect.
Murloc onesie. That feels adjacent enough.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll do it up.
Yeah, I'll wear
Oh.
my dungarees. Perfect. All right, let's do it.
It's gonna be
You guys have been amazing for a whole year, and you've been amazing today. Thank you very much. Twitch out, loads of love. Join me again tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Bye.